Hi everybody. So this is DixieThumper here, and I'm going to go over the construction of the hybrid shell from the kit that I sell. And some of you probably seen these kits on eBay and on Gunbroker, maybe advertised on X, they're set up kind of like this. What this is a 3D printed base to construct a hybrid shell out of an 1.5-inch piece of tubing. These are held together basically with JB weld and a tight fit and a little bit of compression, and they work really well. They actually work very well, especially with Pyrodex pellets. I have a couple other videos on there showing you how to load those. And these things, are printed, and they take a long time to make. So, all this stuff. Some people may think it's, it's cheap or whatever. It's not cheap. I mean, it's not horribly expensive, but there is time involved. There is fitting involved. These little components that are, look, that's just a bunch of cheap metal pieces. Yeah, well, this nipple alone is about $1.50, and a set of 8 washers is like $1.50, and then this is another 15-20 cents. So I mean, you already got almost $2 worth of hardware right here, just this. And then you got one of these takes 4 hours to print by itself, and you're talking Georgia Power bills and everything on top of that. So I'm not trying to juice anybody with the pricing. I'm actually just trying to make, I'm not making much at all. Okay, I'm trying to cover my cost, pay for the PLA, because all these spools of filament, a cheap one is like $10 to $12 a spool, and I might get 25 of these out of that, maybe a few more. So it's not horribly expensive for one of these, to make one of these. I mean, probably 55, 60 cents with energy costs, maybe 70 cents in each one. So I mean, in order to make anything off of it, I have to sell it for $1.50, $2 a piece. So if people don't think it's worth it, that's fine, don't buy it. They are great shells. They're a good option if you have more time than you've got money. You can pick up a 17 gauge tube, 1.5-inch tube raw brass off of Amazon for like $15, and then you can cut these down to as small as, well, on these, with this style, you have to go about this length, which is about 2.5, yes, about 2.5, maybe a little more is what I cut them. So you'll get about 4 shells out of this, plus you'll have a short one. I do have some other bases that are smaller that you can make shorter shells with, but they use a different system. So this is the height that is, because it has to be that height in order to use these components. Okay. So anyway, let's get down to it. What you'll need to complete these is you're going to need, obviously, a piece of brass tubing, 1.5-inch cut, and this is why I don't want to assemble them, because cutting this is tedious, and some people are more particular about how something's done than I am. So this is all done by hand, so my cuts aren't always the straightest. I have to file them and get them as best I can. So these are fine for me. I'll continue to trim it down here and there when I see a raised spot, but other people might not like that. I don't have a lathe. I don't have a power bandsaw. I have to do these all by hand or with a chop saw, and then I have to straighten it out. So that's why I do it the way I do. You can use aluminum tubing, but it can't be too thick. If it's too thick, the bases won't fit. And same thing with your rounds. They're not gonna fit all the way down in there. So you have to size the rounds to the size of the tubing. 17 gauge is like almost the perfect universal size. Everything seems to fit pretty good in the 17 gauge. Okay, these are just a series of rounds here that I make. This is the loose change series. They come apart. Most of my stuff is based on the loose change. This is Bingle's Bullets Impact. This is a point detonation round, and it's set up a little different on the inside. You can go to his website, binglesbullets.com, and you can find these, and they will work with these casings. They're designed for that. That's where the safety pin goes, and it sits down in there. And there's a striker, and then a firing pin down here, and it's inertia, and then there's a 209 primer, and then a charge tube up here on the top that, if we unscrew, you'll see holds the legal limit, federal legal limit for powder. And what happens is when this thing hits, the striker actually, once it leaves the casing, the safety pin pops out, allows that pin to go forward when it hits. So when it hits its inertia, the weight of it hits, and that pin goes forward, hits that primer, detonates it, and that's what pops this right here. So you can have chalk in there, you can have a smoke set up. If you had a smoke, you wouldn't use this particular capsule. You would take it out, and you would find your smoke. Like this is one of my smoke, and it's based off the loose change again. And since it's loose change, it's going to fit into this housing, screw down in there. So you can basically make an impact smoke. So when it impacts, it'll start smoking. But you get the point, right? This is a long one, obviously, but they'll still launch. And some people say, well, it won't fly true. Well, neither does a big cardboard tube of smoke either. Okay, I call that a chuck wagon smoke. Out of a smooth bore, 37 millimeter, nothing's going to fly super true when it's long like this with a short end. You have to have the special design for it to fly true. Okay, enough of that. We're back to the shells. All right, so you have to have your piece of brass cut. You got to have your base. You can have JB Weld. I use the black and the red. This seems to hold the best. You got to score up the inside of this tubing wherever you're going to have this base. This tubing, basically, the base slides into the tubing, and by scoring it up, I mean taking something like a screwdriver or an awl or something and scratching the inside of that deep, gouging it as much as you can without going through it, obviously. So what you're doing is you're creating little pockets for that epoxy to grab a hold of, and that's part of the reason why the base is designed with these little cuts in them like that. It's to give the epoxy a place to kind of pool up and hold. And some of them I have lateral lines cut in them. These I didn't, because there's such a big surface area here that they seem to hold pretty well without it. I may add them later on, add a couple of lateral lines around it. You can cut your tubing however long you want. So if you want a longer shell, you can make a longer shell. It's not hard. Cut it, square it away, and then you can have a longer shell. It's just, that's entirely up to you. And it's, it's the best part about doing it yourself is you can make it how you want it. So, all right. So you get your JB Weld, you got your base. So you'll mix up your JB Weld. The way this works is you do 2 equal parts, white and black, or the white cap and the black cap. 2 equal parts, then you stir it together. Once you stir it together, it starts activating. I let it sit for about a minute, and then you can start applying it. Don't make too much. You're better off making too little than you're making too much, because if you make too little, you can always add more. But I usually do 2 basically $half size circles that are about 1/2 inch high, and then I mix them together, and that usually does about 3 to 4 bases pretty judiciously here with coating it. So I do have a video where I show you coating it, show me coating it. So once you get your JB Weld set up and you're ready to make these, you're going to take this washer. You can put a little JB Weld on it, or you don't have to. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to drop it in the bottom. This becomes the bottom of the chamber. The next thing you're going to do is take this nipple, coat it with the JB Weld. You're going to stick it in the top like this. You're going to find a hard surface, preferably like a floor. If you have a concrete floor, that's the best thing. You're going to take a hammer and you can tap it until it goes all the way down and seats. It needs to seat all the way up to the bottom, just like this. Get over here in the light. See how that sits all the way to the bottom? You don't want any gap in there at all. You want it all the way to the bottom. Once it's all the way to the bottom, you're going to take this nut and you're going to tighten it down as tight as it'll go. And you want JB Weld underneath that nut, because that's going to kind of hold that in place too. The nut doesn't particularly hold anything. What it does is it gives extra protection inside the case of the plastic here. So it's meant to kind of help protect that plastic that it's sitting over from the explosive force of the Pyrodex pellets, if that's what you decide to use. That's what I like to use in these. But you can see it kind of sits over the top, helps protect that a little bit. If you even want to take a washer, you can find a washer big enough to fit in there. You can do that. They do make them. They're generally like I want to say for like tractors and stuff, and they have a really big opening. But you can go to Tractor Supply if you have one close by, and you can find a washer that'll fit around that. It's just got to be under 1.5 inches to fit inside of this tubing. Okay, so you might have to grind on the outside, but that's up to you. Whatever you do, I don't use the washer. These are cheap. If you want another, if you want more extras of these, it's not a problem. Message me and I can include extras. So, you know, I'll charge you a couple bucks a piece for them or whatever. But I can give you extras so when they do fail, because eventually they will fail. Eventually, maybe either the primer pocket will get too big or whatever. Then you can take a torch, heat this up a little bit, and it'll pop right out. You can heat it up, pull all these pieces off, take a wire brush and a pick or a wire wheel with a drill, and hold it with a pair of pliers or vice clamps, or put it in a vise and clean that all up again and reuse the whole thing again. So it's reusable. The only thing that's expendable is this piece right here. And it's cheap. So once you buy the parts, you can reuse this over and over and over again. Yeah, you're going to have to rebuild it, but it's still reusable, okay? I haven't had any instances of the brass failing on me. The brass seems to actually be very good, especially the 17 gauge. It's very thick. The 22 gauge, I've had some that kind of distorted a little bit. This is 17 gauge as well. You can see it's thicker. Plus, it gives it a really nice look. So yeah, so once you pound that in all the way down, and you have it all set up, then you're good to go. So then you'll take the JB Weld and you'll coat the outside of this. Once you have it all coated, you're going to take your brass and you're going to slide it down all the way over your base to the bottom. You're going to scrape off any excess and wipe off any excess. And so when you do that, you want to have a bowl of water and some paper towels nearby that you can wet, or a fairly wet paper towel, so you can wipe your hands off. Wear gloves if you don't like getting stuff on your hands. I usually forget to wear the gloves until after I'm done, and then I look at my hands and say I should have wore gloves, but that's just me. But yeah, I always have a bowl of water and a bunch of paper towels, and you'll wipe all this excess off, so you can keep them fairly clean like this when they're done. See, I had a little bit that is left on here. That'll actually scrape off over time. If I just scratch it, it'll come off. But once it's on and it's in place, and you want your rim all the way flush, let it dry. It takes about 6 hours to dry and about 24 hours to cure completely. You want it 24 hours old before you load or do anything with this. Once it's cured, take a look at it, make sure everything's on and it's not falling apart or anything like that. Nothing weird's going on with it. As long as nothing weird's going on with it, then they're safe to load. Again, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than the main points, make sure that you have JB Weld on this nipple real well, and you want to hammer this all the way till it gets to the bottom, because again, this is your blast chamber. This is basically the chamber, and this washer is the bottom of that chamber, and that's what protects the plastic and makes it last longer. And same thing with the nut on top. You can buy if you want something cleaner, you can buy a brass nut. I bought this because this is about 15 cents a piece versus the brass nut, which is about $1.50. But that'll cut your cost. But if you want to buy the brass nut, you just go look for a 1/2 inch nominal pipe thread. So 1/2 NPT. Search that on Amazon for 1/2 NPT brass nut, and that will screw on the top of here, and it'll give a really pretty brass in there. The skirt will almost touch the walls, so you won't see any JB Weld or anything. And they do last even longer, because this was a cost-cutting measure here. It doesn't have anything to do with the strength. It's just about protection is all it is. And like I said, you might be able to find a stainless steel washer or something that'll fit inside here and over this. That's what you have to know. So you take your little trip to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or wherever, and you can look around and see what you can find. Sometimes the conduit section, they have washers that are flat that may work for that as well. Just remember, this stuff that's mild steel, it's going to rust. It's just inevitable. This is steel, it's going to rust. When I clean them, I wipe them out with a damp cloth. And I think I got one over here somewhere that's been used. Let's see. Yeah. All right, so yeah, this one's been used. You can kind of see it's got a little dirt down in there, but overall it's pretty good. I wiped it out. Looks pretty good. I don't think I have another one up here. I do. Okay. Yeah, these are loaded already, but you can see the glue plug in there. But you can see how it's used. But it still looks pretty good. This has got the brass nut in it. I think no, that's a steel one. And that's how they look when they're loaded. And if you wanted to polish this up, you can. I don't really care. It works. It works really well. I'm getting 250. Well, not with these. With these, I'm getting about 170 yards with these projectiles. Now, these projectiles, shorter, smaller, you got to seal them better. The heavier, longer ones are going to go further, okay? The heavier it is, not so much longer, but the heavier it is, the further it's going to go and the more recoil you're going to feel. Since these fit kind of loose, you see how loose that is? You got to put RTV silicone in it. So you get you a tube of that black RTV silicone, or you can use probably the clear silicone will probably work as well. Don't put a lot. Smear a little around the bottom of right here around your pusher. This is the pusher right here, and this is your nose cone. Smear it around the bottom of the pusher, and then seat it and hold it there for a minute. And once it sticks, leave it alone. And then you're ready to go, okay? This is obviously after you've already loaded it. So like if I were to load this, I would take this apart, and I've got some chalk right down there. If you can see that chalk down there, I'd fill it up with chalk if I'm just doing an impact, because these little nose cones are kind of, they're made to be kind of, I call them eggshells. They're very thin, but they're made so they'll crush when they impact a lot easier. But this is a loose change module. You can fuse it and you can make an air burst, or you can plug the whole thing with hot glue. If you plug it with hot glue, plug it above, up to the support here. So let me zoom in. So you see where that part right there, where the angle starts, that's about where I fill it up with glue. I start here, I push glue down in that hole, fill this whole back thing, end up with glue, set it down, and let it cool. If the glue is super piping hot, it's going to distort this. So you want the glue just barely hot. You want it to flow, but you don't want it to be like a tube, like a toothpaste coming out. You want it to come out in a puddle and flow. But if it's smoking, then it's a little too hot. So you want to have, fan or something nearby to cool it a little quicker, or let it get cool before you put that in there. But yeah, so you can plug that, and then I plug this back here. And then I put my chalk in here, and I fill it almost as full as I can get it. But if you notice, this is raised, right? So you take an 1.25 inch card and put it on the back of here, and then turn this over and screw it in. And when you screw it in, that 1.25 inch card is going to compress that chalk to the front, and that keeps it from shifting in flight. As long as it's solid, not shifting in flight, it's going to travel far, and it's going to travel true. If it's shifting, it's not going to travel true, okay? So don't be chintzy on your chalk. Buy a lot of chalk. You can get it cheap. If you look on Amazon, you can get those 5-gallon containers for $10 a piece. Just the white chalk. If you want orange or the green, you're going to pay about, I think I paid like $17 per 5 pound of this Irwin. And this is, the bright green, fluorescent green, basically. And then the other is orange. And you can get blue and red and black and white. But yeah, get yourself a big old thing of that, and then you need to either print or buy these projectiles from me. You can print them if you want. The files are out there. These are the +2 size, so if you go find the loose change or Are We Cool Yet, ACWY on the Odyssey.com, you can find the loose change, or the MSS series is what this is all in there. This is a short pusher, fused, side fused, and set up for the loose change system to work with any of these projectiles. This is based off the loose change system here. This is Bingle's bullets, and his pushers are different because it's made for, this is an impact round, so that's why it doesn't have a fuse down there. It's made to hit and detonate. And yeah, detonation, you know, like impact rounds, check with your state law. You know, your state may have it. It may be banned in your state. I don't know. I don't keep up on everybody's state laws. I just know the laws in my state, where I'm in, whether I'm in Georgia or Florida, we're good to go. Pretty much anywhere in the South, you're good to go, and out west. Impact rounds are not illegal. It's the amount of the explosive that, or, you know, whatever you put in here. So if you put black powder or you put smokeless powder or whatever, this is the legal limit. This capsule, so which is 109 grains or a quarter ounce. Anything over that, and you get into big problems with ATF. Me personally, I don't cut it close. I just put a lot less in there. I usually put about 50 grains in there because I don't like to play games with them. Don't have any desire to be Bubba's cellmate in federal prison. So anyway, that's pretty much how this works. So, you know, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully between this and the other videos, you'll figure it out. It's not super rocket science. It's definitely 37 science. And also, when you put these first primers in, they're going to be a little hard to go in. That's fine. Turn the whole shell upside down, put it on something padded, like I have a little piece right here, and then stick the primer in as far as it'll go. And then you need a wooden dowel of some sort. I have one. It's not, I've used this one, but take that wooden dowel, and you want something that's flat on the end, put it on there, and then you can tap it with a hammer, and it's, you know, get something safe. If it does pop, I've had them pop before. It's usually the Winchesters that pop. The Remington STSs, they go in great. I don't ever have an issue with them. But every now and then a Winchester will pop on me, and it just scare you, but it won't do anything to you. Now, you obviously don't want to have that on your leg or anything like that, because it'll burn you. But yeah, that's how you do that. Just prime it, and then once you prime it, then you powder it. And the powder, I usually put Pyrodex pellet 50 grain down in there, and then I take my little cardboard cutouts, put 3 of them in there, shove them down, and push it all the way down till it's seated, so that when you shake it, you don't hear anything. I want that Pyrodex pellet seated against this primer, and then a glue cap on top of it about 1/4 inch, and then you're good to go, and you're ready to shoot. Then you just all it is then is making your chalk projectile, or if you're going to do something else, then set it up. You want to do smoke? Fine, put your smoke in there, fuse it. And then some people are asking me how I do these smokes. Go look up how to build a smoke bomb in a cardboard tube, okay? Once you watch that and you figure out how to do that, it's easy. This is just takes the place of the cardboard tube is all it is. The only thing you want to do is make sure you don't block these holes, because that's where your smoke's going to come out of, okay? If you want to make it all the way to the end, that's fine. Once you get it fused and screwed in, you can always come back and you can drill holes down lower so it'll vent. You just have to have a vent. Otherwise, the smoke will build up and it'll blow up. And then you'll cause fires and whatnot. And you don't want that. You want the smoke to escape. And that's the whole point of the vent holes, is smoke to escape. Now, I'm going to redesign these, and I am going to put them in the pushers down here where they go in at the bottom of that pusher and come out, so you can have more room for smoke. That should give this extra long smoke, probably almost a minute's worth of smoke, which would be pretty cool. So anyway, that's another thing I've got to work on. So anyway, all right, so long video, sorry. Hopefully this explains everything in detail, how these work. Just stock up on your 17 gauge raw brass. It's got to be raw. Don't get the chrome. The JB weld will not stick to the chrome, and you're not going to scratch it deep enough, because it's really hard to make it effective. So get the raw brass, and then cut them the sections you want. Powered bandsaw is probably the best. Actually, a lathe would be the best, but I don't have a lathe, not yet. And then you can cut it true, or you can pay someone to cut it true, or you can buy the flanged sections, I think as little as 4 inches, and then you got one end that's true, and you can just concentrate on the other end. And then what I do is I put the worst end at the bottom, because you're filling that with JB Weld, so it doesn't matter. But these will automatically square up the tube up top. So if the top one is square, then the bottom one can be off a little, and it's going to when it gets to the bottom, it's going to automatically, see how that one's a little raised over here? It's going to make whatever's up top more flush if it's a factory cut. So okay, so that's pretty much it. Hope this helps. Thanks.